Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Wicked Art. It is Wicked here, and today we're going to be talking about how to make yourself a easy little art curriculum kind of thing, as requested by a viewer, to kind of help yourself get better, set goals for yourself, things like that. So, what I'm going to be doing is I'm just going to be drawing randomly while also discussing what it is that you need to do. Um, or it's not 100%, hey, this is the be all get all, but this is just something I would have done for myself, being self-taught at some point, right? So we're going to discuss 7 um, sections of studying, if you will, while I sit here and just kind of draw. So just kind of stick with me, okay? So the first thing you want to do is you want to make sure that you set time aside every day, or every other day, whatever's feasible for you. Because I know if you have a job or something, it can be hard to kind of keep up with everything, and do what you have to do in order to become a better artist. But if it is something that you are passionate about and you know for a fact that it's something that you want to do and get better, well, that drive is going to be there. But you have to love the process of drawing, right? So the first thing that I would start with would be sketching, okay? It may seem redundant, or maybe maybe you're already at a point where you're starting your art journey, and you already have some basic skills down. Maybe you don't need to do the sketching part of all of this. Um, but with that being said, you want to kind of stay loose with your stuff, right? Unless you already have something in mind that you know that you're trying to draw, spend about 1 to 2 weeks. Okay, now remember, this is going to be for the beginner. You've never picked up a pencil, you have no idea, whatsoever about art or whether it's for you. Um, but what I'm saying is make sure that you spend 1 to 2 weeks, or as long as you need to. So all of this is going to be supplemented with the fact that you need to spend as long as needed on any particular area. So sketching, learning how to hold, maneuver, manipulate your pencil. Like when I sketch loosely, I hold my pencil way out here and just stay nice and loose and get my shapes. If I want more refined details, I move slower. If I'm kind of in between, I kind of hold it in the middle. So just take one, and you can do, I don't know, we'll say just find something in your house, or maybe you got something sitting outside, like a tree or a garden, or just something that you can use to help you sketch. So you're just going to sit there and just loosen up and get loose, get those hand movements down, and really try uh, to build up and get used to just cutting loose and making mistakes, okay? I know a lot of artists you may look at, and even myself included sometimes, you just kind of start with construction lines, or no construction lines. Like some can just go straight in and just, start drawing whatever they need. And that just all depends on skill level and things of that nature to help them uh, better understand. Like if they've drawn a hand 100 times, like they do it a lot, they might need to make a box and build up the shape of everything. They can just go straight in and start drawing a hand. Well, that's something that you have to work yourself towards. So building with shapes and structures, um, through sketching by just loosely just trying to see how fast you can get it all down. That's what I would do for 1 to 2 weeks or longer. That's the key thing there. If you need to spend more time on a particular section, don't rush to get done. And the other thing that's important in all of this is have somebody who's going to give you meaningful feedback, right? So don't ask your friends or your mom unless they are going to be, 100% honest with you about your progress and how something looks. Don't let them go, you sit here and you draw a little stick man, like, oh yeah, that looks great. You did a good job there. Don't don't do that. Find somebody who's going to give you actual meaningful impact. So on your work, what you need to work on, things like that. So if that's the case, then you need to go maybe see if you can find an art community, somebody who's willing to give you some feedback. There's a lot of discords, things like that you can join. Heck, I would make a discord if I knew anything about it. Again, kind of showing my age. I'm sure it's probably easy to understand, but I don't get it, how to set it up. But that's neither here nor there. Just have somebody who's going to be able to help you get better by being honest and telling you the things that you need to work on in order to improve, right? Okay, so again, your first goal, if you are just 100% brand new, never picked up a pencil, is to spend 1 to 2 weeks or longer on just learning how to sketch and get loose. Okay, so that's the first order. All right, so the second thing that I would do, and again, it's just me and my opinion on things that I would do myself, spend time on shading and lighting. Okay, just like we went over in last week or the week before's video, cross hatching, shape and form, learning how to build those structures out to really help bring the shape of things to life uh, with your artwork, right? So spend time learning hatching, cross hatching, shadings with your pencil, and then smudging, right? Just different things that can help you get better. And the best way to do that is by, number one, always creating a light source for yourself, right? By using a simple arrow, you can create and give your mind's eye a view of what it is that your light is going to be doing to the object that you're drawing. So start with simple shapes. Don't go out there and try to draw something super crazy right off the bat. You have to give yourself the opportunity and the chance to grow. And in order to do that, you have to start with the basics, basically. Don't if you're coming and looking for a one-stop shop for, oh, I'm gonna be an artist in 2 days, it's not gonna happen. You have to be dedicated and really set your time to making sure that you understand these fundamentals that you're starting with, right? So I would suggest spending 2 to 3 weeks just on shading alone, whether it's simple objects. You can maybe pull out an apple, or another best method to use is to get black and white photos, right? So you can go on to Google and do a search and put black and white images of fruit, right? And then you can pull up those images and it'll allow you to get a better look at how the light and shadow are hitting those things, and you can easily pick them out and figure out from there on how to best proceed, if you will, forward on moving on to harder things. So spend 2 to 3 weeks every day. Just, I don't know, 30. You want to spend 30 minutes to an hour if you can dedicate that kind of time. And a lot of people are like, well, I don't have that kind of time. Well, how much? Really stop and think about it. Like, how much time do you have while you're sitting there on the couch watching whatever show it is that you're watching, right? I mean, between commercial breaks, you could be practicing your sketching, right? You could see how fast can I sketch the television um, before the commercial break is done, right? There's always time for you to do something. If you really stop and look and think about how much time you're actually spending doing nothing, you may find that you could actually have plenty of time to do a lot more practicing. And again, that's all just going to be dependent on your practicing or your passion for actually wanting to get better at art, right? So again, step 2 is going to be shading and lighting. And you're going to spend anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks, and again, if not longer, until you get to the spot that you think you're getting meaningful feedback. And if some of you take this advice and start working on it, and you want to, share your work with me um, on Twitter or whatever, and want to actually get some feedback from me, I don't mind. I'll let you know if you're moving in the right direction or not. But the main goal is just getting that practice in. So again, 2 to 3 weeks of shading, if not longer. Um, and then you'll be ready to move on to the next step. The next step, to me, once you get that stuff down and you're really kind of proficient at it, the best next step to me is drawing from life and using different mediums, right? So what do I mean by that? Well, find stuff in your house. Go to a park. Take and find, and it doesn't have to be something that's like literally like from life. Like if you're just not able to, like, let's say you want to learn to draw, animals or whatever, draw from life by simply finding a picture of a bird online and try to draw that. But either way, just you're trying to apply the 2 skills that you've just learned from sketching and from shading and lighting, and you're going to apply those things and just start drawing what you see. Just anything that's in the house, whatever. Again, just take that time while you're sitting there. You can draw and watch TV at the same time and do all that stuff. And again, this is not something that's going to be an easy process. So you'll want to get that feedback. So what I would do again is take the time to join an art community or something that's going to be able to give you that feedback that you're looking for. And honestly, being your own self critic. You should honestly be able to look at your stuff and compare it to what you were at last week and just be able to um judge from there. Like, did I get better? Does it look good? What do I need to work on? Because that's going to be the key thing at this step, is recognizing your mistakes, right? And then getting better at it by not making those same mistakes again. Really analyze your stuff and see what it is that you need to work on in order to make it better, right? You have to be your worst critic, and you have to have some thick skin too, because if you are joining one of those art communities and somebody just tells you, like, no, that doesn't look good at all, then you just have to take that and for what it is, and just understand that you have something that you need to go back and work on. And you also need to understand not every single thing that you draw is going to look good. Like this image I'm working on now, it may turn out good, it may turn out to look like complete garbage, but just make sure that you finish it. Don't sit there and be like, ugh, this looks terrible, I'm gonna stop. Well, you're taking away from a chance of you to get some actual practice in and, actually learn and grow from there. And instead of just giving up, you just keep going. Like I said, even to this day, sometimes I draw some good stuff, sometimes I draw some awful stuff. But either way, I still finish what I'm doing and learn from those mistakes, okay? So again, the third thing to start working on after you've mastered the sketching and the shading, or not necessarily mastered, but gotten really good at doing, is you want to draw from life. Use different mediums. And what do I mean by mediums? That means charcoal, pencil, um, paint, things like that. Practice. This is a good way to help you find your niche, something that you're good at and passionate about, and it'll really help you, build out from there. Okay. Now that brings us in to the next thing that I myself would use in order to help my skills grow would be perspective. Okay, so you definitely want to spend some time on perspective. Start with simple objects and shapes, cylinders, um, squares, not squares, cubes, spheres, whatever shapes you can think of. And then from there, the tricky part is going to be is once you've gotten that in there, um, those basic shapes, then you want to start getting crazy with it, right? Then you want to start learning things like how to cut into a shape, right? So instead of it just being a sphere, maybe you can dig out a section of it so it has like a concave section to it. And then you can learn from there more complex objects, right? When you're drawing cars, buildings, houses, things of that nature, you're now going to have a better understanding as to what um, it is you need to work on, how things are made, the construction lines that are used. Um, just keep practicing using. If you want, you can, and if you go back to some of my videos, I do have some videos on perspective, or if you want me to make some new videos on perspective, I can do that. But there's things where you talk about vanishing points, um, using a ruler to help keep things straight, and that's what I call perfect perspective. But you also need to kind of learn how to do um, objective perspective, and the fact of like knowing that if I'm drawing a table, I don't have to use a straight line to help me get it right. I'm just going to draw a table and it'll look like I'm looking up at the table. But knowing how to get to that point is the part that's important. Right? So the next thing is the length of time. This one's going to be a little bit longer because it's going to be important. But you want to use, me personally, I would spend 3 to 4 weeks, if not longer. Again, notice I keep using that term, or longer, until you've gotten to a place where you're comfortable with it and you're all good to go. You may need to spend even more time on it, just so that you get to a point that you can say, hey, I can draw anything that I want in perspective. Okay? So just to kind of quickly recap, you want to do sketching 1 to 2 weeks or longer, shading and lighting 2 to 3 weeks or longer, then spend 3 to 4 weeks, if not longer, drawing from life. And then your fourth step would be to use perspective, right? 3 or 4 weeks, if not longer. Okay? So the reasoning for that is perspective plays a huge role in, doing more dynamic poses and things with your characters. which leads us to our fifth area of study or curriculum for yourself in order to help you get better, and that is going to be anatomy. Now, keep in mind, this includes not just human anatomy, but animal anatomy as well. And you learning and breaking down the structures that make up those things. Now, there are a bajillion anatomy books out there. There's a bajillion sources. You don't have to learn it from me and my methods. You can find something that's a little bit better for you. The key goal is breaking down those shapes and really working in the things that are going to help you better build a hand, okay? But the important part is breaking it up, right? Do not just sit there, and I'm just switching to a pen right now if you're somebody who's just following along with me. Do not just sit there and just try to draw a whole body all the time. Focus on one section. Focus on the head. Now, a method that I used to learn um, when I was getting, more acquainted with art is to start with the skeletal structure, right? Now, if you don't want to and you have a good understanding of shapes and forms, you could go for more of the muscular form learning where you try to draw, the chest as a box and things of that nature. You don't have to sit there and go through that. But understanding the skeletal system can be important to different things, like when learning face shapes and things like that, right? We don't have to have just a flat circular face. Things about how the bone structure is set up in order to give you more dynamism or dynamicism to your character, so they don't all look the same, right? Or your animals, like you're doing cartoon animals. All of this stuff needs to come from reality. So learning realism first can greatly benefit the way your work is going to look later on down the line, right? But what you want to do is you want to spend 2 to 3 weeks, if not longer. This is going to be the longest portion of your self curriculum study. Okay? 2 to 3 weeks, if not longer, on each section of the body. You want to start with the torso, or the head, and the hands, or the arms. That's completely up to you. You can work in whichever method you want, but the key thing is going to be getting that feedback. Again, having somebody be honest and tell you the truth of how it looks, what things you need to work on to continue to get better. So this could take 6 months, maybe to a year. Just depends on your learning curve and how what kind of natural ability you already have. And I would focus on, animals and things of that nature to go alongside with humans, just so that you become well-rounded. Because let's say your goal in life is you want to make your own comic, and I'm just using this as an example. But you want to make your own comic. Well, comic books isn't just faces, is it? Right? Sometimes there's animals in the background. Sometimes there's people in a large city with cars, buildings, structures. You kind of have to know how to do all of that. You're not going to just draw people and have nothing in the background the whole time. You kind of have to learn, what it is that's going to complete an entire scene in your comic, right? So again, anatomy, spend 2 to 3 weeks, and this is number 5 on your curriculum, 2 to 3 weeks, if not longer, on different sections as well as the structures that make up the body, the shapes, the sizes, things of that nature. What's going to help you get better and build that stuff out. Okay. Now, that moves us on to number 6, which is composition and thumbnailing. Okay. Now, I don't believe I have made a video on it. I could have, but if not, a quick rundown on what um, thumbnailing is and composition. You're you're essentially trying to build up um, your scene, right? So let's say you were going to draw a fruit basket, just some still life stuff, whether it's painting or in charcoal, or you're doing, like I said, a comic, or maybe you're just doing some concepting of an environment for a game that you want to make or be a part of, or just an idea you want to put out there. Um, you're going to take the time to set up the composition of how that's all going to look, right? So remembering the rule of thirds, where you can kind of, draw, it could be 1 or 2 lines vertically, 3, 4 lines horizontally, and each point where it intersects, think of it as a point of interest that you can choose from um, in order to put something important in the scene to give it a good composition. Um, you're going to make sure that you draw little individual rectangles. Think of it as I believe I heard, it's an artist I heard talk one time, they call it a napkin sketch, right? Let's say you only had enough time at a dinner meeting to sketch out your idea and then it just fit on a napkin and you'd have to put that out there. So you're going to take that into the rectangle and you're just going to loosely plot, sketch, and plan out your ideas, whether it's a group of characters standing wherever. You can just draw out basic structures and shapes and just really thumbnail quick sketches. I'd say spend probably no more than 5 minutes on each one, just really trying to lay it out there because you're trying to see how fast you can get those ideas down on paper. And then from there, you can pick which one looks the best. And once you've decided on which one is the one you want to go with, that's when you can go in and start drawing your image and doing all that other stuff. So again, I'd spend 3 to 4 weeks thumbnailing um, and working on composition and placement of things in your total image that you're going for there at the end. And again, 3 to 4 weeks, but if not longer if you need to. Okay, again, looking for that feedback. You're gonna find ways to get to know about positive and negative space, what looks good, what reads good in a silhouette of a character or a scene or a setup, because that can really set the mood or tone for what it is that you're going for. And then that brings me to the 7th and final kind of tutorial lesson for yourself to set up to make yourself get better as an artist. And that is going to be to find your style, find your voice, right? You don't want to go through and just copy somebody else's style. There's nothing wrong with learning from one, right? It's like one of my favorite, probably my 2 favorite comic book artists of all time is Humberto Ramos and Joe Madureira or Joe Mad. I learned a lot from their styles, but I never used that to make it my own, right? And say, hey, I'm gonna draw exactly like them. You need to learn to kind of add in your own take on things, okay? So you're going to find your style through your work. Maybe you like loose and sketchy. Um, is more appealing to you. Maybe more simplistic approach, less detail, more Saturday morning cartoon, or kind of like the style of drawing like Fairly Odd Parents or Gravity Falls. Something that's a little bit more simplistic, easier to draw, but that's just your niche, your style. You want to find your voice in art, what's going to separate you from everybody else, and what's going to allow you to continue to grow and adapt your style. Always be malleable. Don't just sit there and just be stuck in a rut. Always evolve and change yourself and your art to fit whatever your needs can be. Especially in the case of if you're looking to get into art from finding a job from someone else. Like let's say you want to work for Blizzard, you need to learn their style. That is the time that you need to copy one for one kind of like what it is they're doing. Now, does that mean it has to be exact replica? No. But it needs to be pretty darn close because they're going to be looking for people who can, you know, use and manage their style and really be able to um, fit the needs of their company and what it is they're looking to do. So again, this is the key one. Why I put it last. Finding your style could take weeks to years until you settle on something that you want. That's why it's the final thing you kind of want to hone in and focus on, right? So not just finding your style, but finding the style maybe of the person or company that you're trying to work for. And that's a thing that takes time too. And the best way to get kind of feedback on like for personal style, like yourself when you're trying to grow your own brand and what you're trying to do, um, use Instagram, ArtStation, anywhere that you can kind of post your work to kind of help you um, build up, the thing that it is that you're looking to do, whether it's to be your fan base, just get people maybe want to sell art prints, things like that. You really want to have yourself be seen. So don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Don't be afraid of criticism. Yes, there's always going to be that one person who's like, "Hey, your art sucks. Why are you even doing this?" Don't grow some. My time in the military, I learned to get thick skin. Right? I was never perfect all the time. I always had people giving me feedback, and the way it was delivered or said to me did not make me go home and cry at night and put my head into a pillow. I understand some people are sensitive, and more power to you. I'm working through all that stuff. But you've got to be able to take the punches. You've got to be able to just let life hit you and pound on you and learn from it to get better, right? So, again, this could take weeks, months, or years, but you're going to try and find your own artistic style to bring delight into what it is that you want to do. Okay? So we're going to recap real quick and talk about this curriculum. Okay? So self-taught curriculum, or at least my version of what I would do anyway. You can adjust and apply whatever you want. Number one, sketching, 1 to 2 weeks, if not longer. Okay, once you have that down, you're going to move on to shading and lighting. And then you're going to spend 2 to 3 weeks, if not longer, getting better at that. Okay. Step 3 is you're going to focus on drawing from life and using different mediums, such as pens, charcoal, pencil, paints, whatever you do until you kind of find that fundamental foundation in all those things, then you're going to move on to perspective drawing. Okay, well, number 3 again, 3 to 4 weeks or longer on perspective until you have it down. And then you're going to move on to number 4 or number 5. Sorry, I messed that up. So, goal 1 or curriculum 1 is sketching 1 to 2 weeks or longer. 2, shading and lighting 2 to 3 weeks or longer. 3 was draw from life 3 to 4 weeks or longer. And then you move on to perspective, which is number 4. Right, we're going to do that for 3 to 4 weeks or longer. Okay, and then from there you're going to move on to anatomy. Okay, and that includes animals, but you're going to spend 2 to 3 weeks, if not longer, on each section of the thing you're trying to learn, trying to get the structures, forms and shapes of the things that are going to make up these different anatomies that you're drawing. Again, whether it's animals, people, does not matter, insects, you're going to spend time focusing on that, whether you want to start from skeletal or just go from shapes. You're going to use probably a good bit of time, 3-4 months to 6, 7, or 8 months, or heck, even a year if you need to. It's constantly improving. Okay, and once you have that down, you're going to move on to the next part of the curriculum, number 6, and that's going to be composition and thumbnailing. Okay, with composition and thumbnailing, you're spending 3 to 4 weeks, if not longer, working on that. And then once you have that down, you should have enough fundamentals that what you can start doing for number 7 is finding your style, your niche, your thing you're trying to do. You're going to spend weeks, if not years, trying to find that thing while at the same time continually evolving and getting better and making improvements on what you already have, right? So it's not just going to be your style, it's going to be always evolving and moving forward with your style from there. Now, another question that was kind of posed within the same deal was any resources that I use. My suggestion as far as resources, as far as the first thing that you can use, granted, Google, Pinterest, all that stuff can be a good source for references and things like that. But if you really want to like kind of get an idea of the thought processes and things like that that go into different forms of art and why they're the way they are, my personal opinion is art books, right? So some of the art books that I have that I use a lot, just not just for learning the process of, but just for just inspiration of like, oh man, that's really cool. I'm thinking of going this kind of route. Or like I said, they're just art books, video game art books, whatever. Like some of the ones that I have are the entire Legend of Zelda art books, creating a champion. Um, you know, the encyclopedias, stuff like that. They all have artwork in there that just kind of shows you the thought process of how and why they chose to do the things that they did. You know, you can kind of see where their thought process was on where they were going with some, especially the Breath of the Wild one. Is really good. The Creating a Champion was a really good one. Um, and those things will always be there to help give me some inspiration. Something else is whether you're a fan of the games or not. Um, the Horizon art books, like Horizon Zero Dawn and Forbidden West, these things have huge, in depth looks at different iterations in there, design choices, what the thought processes were. You could see like how the different iterations led to up to what the final result was. And the nice thing is with a lot of these art books, they have a lot of inspirational, like, you know, notes of things of like why they chose what they chose, what led them to change to something else, whether it was going to be practical, um, you know, for the overall design for the game. Um, so art books can be very helpful and insightful into helping you understand a little bit more how their art processes worked. You know, what kind of things and methods they use to come up with their ideas. Another good resource, and I'm not telling you to sit there and go out and buy a ton of comic books, but that was my source of inspiration for a long time, especially when coming down to learning anatomy. There is nothing wrong with having some comic books. You know, find your favorite artists and find their collection of works and buy those, see it, study it, try to recreate and understand the structures that go into that. Um, Something else that you could use for that. That's where kind of like Pinterest and Google can come in if you're just not able to purchase those comics. You can at least find, you know, still shot images of some of their work um, for free online, and you can study from that. Another great resource that I think I mentioned in the last video when I talked about practicing fundamentals and anatomy, on the, I think it was the how I got into art. But another good resource, and it's old. Okay, it may seem outdated with how they're drawing things, but the fundamentals of everything that you need for drawing characters is still there, and that is the How to Draw Marvel comics by Stan Lee, and like I said, I believe it was Jack Kirby. I'd have to dig through the closet to really find that book. But it's an older book, but you could easily probably still find it on Amazon or eBay, and that'll really help set you up to get you going in the right direction. Um, Again, another good resource is for those of you that can afford it is school, either an art school, um, which it's not necessary. You don't have to, or find like an art club, something in your community. Like I know there's a lot of places that have like sketching sessions where they just sit around and they just kind of, you know, BS and draw and really try to improve on their artwork while giving each other feedback, things of that nature. So again, just something to look into as far as that goes. Um, so yeah, again, some resources that are good to use are art books for video games, movies, stuff like that, just to see the process. Google and Pinterest are obviously free for you to look at. Um, some other things would be joining art communities like a Discord. Um, probably find people online, watch tutorials. You know, like I understand that I'm not the greatest artist on the planet, and I accept that, and that's fine. You got people who want to watch these long form videos, you got people who don't. That's fine. It's whoever this is here for. That's who it's there for. I'm not here to make a buck kind of thing. I just love teaching and doing this stuff, and getting people to understand different avenues that they can use uh, to help themselves get better. Um, that's why I take the requests for art lessons. So yeah, just find some YouTubers that maybe they got that style of art or that method of art that you're looking for. It's not gonna hurt my feelings if you you know go and look at somebody else's thing. You always, I mean, heck, I'm subscribed to other artists too because you can always learn from somebody else, right? There's could be one thing that you're struggling at that somebody else might know how, to help you get better at. So why limit yourself to one resource? There's tons of stuff, which is why, I always tell my kids, like, you guys have the one thing that I didn't have. You have access to YouTube. You want to learn to play the guitar, somebody gonna give you free guitar lessons right here on YouTube. I know one thing that I will never do, and that is put my stuff behind a paywall. I'm always going to allow you to see in real time what it is that I'm doing. I never ask for you to join a Patreon in order to get it. And I'm not knocking those people who are trying to make a dime, you know. Everybody's got their different situations and reasonings for why they need to do what they do. And that's their choice. But myself personally, I'm just giving it away for free. And you can take it or leave it however you want. Agree or disagree, that's fine. But again, I hope that you were able to learn something from today. I hope you put those things into practice and remember you can always share your work with me on Twitter. I would love to look at it and see how good you're getting. Um, sorry, kind of got sidetracked on what I was doing, trying to fill in this inking. Yeah, but if today's video is helpful, like, share, subscribe, stay for more. If you have suggestions and you want to see more videos like this that have instruction or tutorial, you want me to make another perspective video, I am down to do it, but you have to let me know. Leaving a comment does not just help the channel, it helps me help you get you the content that you're looking for. Okay? I cannot be psychic. That's why I did this video today. It was from a viewer who wanted to hear my thoughts and opinions on this, so I decided to sit down and make it. And it just doesn't have to be for art lessons, like for some of the stuff on Tiny Tuesdays. If there's specific characters you want me to draw, now they have to be within reason, because again, Tiny Tuesdays mainly for more of a younger audience. Still good practice, but mainly for younger kids. But yeah, the Digital Wednesdays, if you're somebody who's into Photoshop, sketchbook, whatever, you can just let me know what kind of video in that you would like to see, and I have no problem making it. Again, you have to remember though that I am a real-time channel. There are some times that I will do time-lapse things just because it's just not feasible. Like, I'm not ever going to record a 3-hour video just because the likelihood of anybody actually sitting there and watching it is probably slim to none. Okay, so I try to keep things reasonable, never to go over 2 hours. So I think even with this video right now, we're sitting at just under an hour, which is pretty good. We also have Thursdays are pretty much open. I was thinking about doing maybe a live stream on Thursday, if you guys want to come down and join that. Something else. Fridays. We do Fun Draw Fridays. So if you have, this is the one that could be more detailed, kind of like the Spider-Man 2099 one that we just did. So I could do more detailed images for you. If you want to learn how to draw Goku, One Piece, whatever, go back and check out some of my older videos. I might have already done some of those for you. But yeah, just let me know what it is you want to see. Right now, I'm just gonna finish this up for those of you who were actually just following along and want to kind of see how it finishes. Now, granted, I could sit in there and just really like hammer home like this whole white open area here. But I'm just staying kind of loose today. And I do apologize for like the flood of shorts. Again, to kind of show my age, I didn't know how shorts worked, what it was for. So I just kind of got a little carried away and outside. So I am still going to put shorts on the channel, but probably not so much back to back. I was just kind of seeing how, that whole thing worked. Wasn't really 100% familiar with that. Yeah, so I'm just kind of thinking of like where the black needs to be, because if you haven't guessed, this is Ghost Rider again. It's kind of weird. It's like he's not like the most intriguing character to me in all of Marvel. I just love his design. I probably own maybe one comic with Ghost Rider in it, just because I never got into the story behind it. Don't get me wrong, I like the mysticism stuff, kind of like especially with Blade and Doctor Strange and stuff like that. But like, I just never found anything in Ghost Rider's story overly compelling. But the just idea of a flaming skull and flaming motorcycle was always super cool to me, and really just made it kind of stand out, taking different takes on it. So I love seeing Ghost Rider artwork, especially when it's colored and Photoshop, getting that good flame detail and that lighting with the glow from the flame. It can just really be cool, especially with the chains and stuff like that he has. Like I said, I'm not a Ghost Rider expert, but I do know his look. And that is just something that I've wanted to always do. And again, we were talking about references earlier and resources. Why comic books are resources. What better way to learn how to draw skulls than to study Ghost Rider's head, right? I mean, if you want to get good at drawing skulls, you just type in the word Ghost Rider. You will see Ghost Rider's skull from angle after angle after angle, and just be able to keep growing and getting better from there. So, again, I'm not going to spend the time to fill it in completely dark, just because I don't want to. I want to try to keep this video at an hour today. I think I'm kind of pushing it, but that's fine. Again, just please make sure that you leave a comment if you have something you want to learn, or you can just let me know, hey, just keep doing what you're doing. That way I know to just keep doing stuff like this, whatever is going to make it, get to a point to where I keep, hitting the areas of things that you're looking to find. I'm just kind of putting in some work here just to make it more interesting in that area. So you want to kind of have some edges going. And I am going to take the lazy route just because I think that section is going to be a little bit too big to not do it this way. So I'm just going to pull out a black Ohu marker here and put something underneath here so it doesn't bleed through. And we're just going to fill it in that way. May not match it perfect. But at least it'll cover more ground faster without me having to spend the next hour trying to get that stuff down. I'm just going to kind of take that around and build up that shape there. And then what you can do is you can take the wider end of the marker for some reason that's not working. Guess we'll just stick with the tip. Okay. So again, thank you to all of you that have subscribed and that are sticking around to the end of these videos. You're only going to continue to grow and get better, learning and memorizing the different steps that I took in order to get there. I may just run out of ink in general before I get there. Let's see if I can fill this in. But yeah, just remember, leave a like, leave a comment, let me know what you want to see. And also you can share your work with me on Twitter, unless you guys know a better way. Because like I said, I still can't figure out Discord and all that other stuff. It's just not really my jam and how I can figure out how to do that. Maybe I'll sit down one of these days and figure it out and learn it. But yeah, that's going to do it for today. Until next time, remember to keep on sketching. And I will see you in the next video. All right? Bye.